Good morning, everybody. So we've been talking about indicators and viruses and cancer, disease, chronic illness, and imbalances in your fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And then we talk about how those imbalances manifest in our society with, yes, cancer, disease, and chronic illness, but also how they manifest in behaviors, how they manifest in activism, the type of jobs that you choose, the type of religion that you practice. I mean, how does cancer, disease, and chronic illness manifest in our society? Well, just look around you. How do viruses manifest in our society? Look around you. Now, viruses aren't necessarily bad. I've been exposed to almost every virus that's out there in the population because I've been exposed to people. I go to restaurants. I've had boyfriends. I have a husband. I lived in a family. I went to public school. I go on airplanes. I've been to different countries. So I've never not been exposed to any type of virus that's out there. Okay, I've gone into homes that have a lot of viruses in them. I've met people who I know are full of viruses. So nobody escapes the virus overload or upload. Nobody does. But why does it manifest in cancer, disease, and chronic illness? Why does it? Oh, generational weaknesses. Generational weaknesses. And so there are indicators out there of the death trajectory. Okay? And it didn't just hit me. It hit me really recently right now about as far as indicators of death. Yeah, we talk about death and cancer, and I talk about it in a sporadic form. But let me give you more in a very well packaged form. These are indicators of death trajectories for your family and you. First, it's the cold and flu. Okay? Forget that you were born, forget that someone has died. Just look at the current life right now. In our society, if you get a cold and flu, that's a precursor to a death trajectory. You can change it at any time, but that is an indicator that you are now trying to adapt and your body is weak, and then you fall to the symptoms. And then from that cold and flu, then things transpire into autoimmune disorders or diabetes or obesity, all these different disorders, disease / cancer. Okay? What is it because of? Because of viruses. Not because that, viruses are bad. It's because it's a weak body, but you got to see the indicators, the precursors to death, okay? And then from autoimmune disorders, disease, and cancer, then sometimes cancer just takes a person out. And then depending upon what kind of remedies you use, you can have a very short time with your cancer or a very long time with your cancer. But what is cancer? It's just basically a conglomeration of viruses on a weak body. It could be in remission. Doesn't mean it hasn't disappeared. It just means it's in remission. And your body is progressively becoming weaker by all the different, wrong chemistry you apply to the body. Cannabis, chemotherapy, whatever. And then the last part of the death trajectory is death. Okay? But the indicators are there. Indicators could also be in mental illness, behaviors, bullying, capitalizing on somebody else's, making fun of somebody else. I mean, there's so many indicators out there that show people that are on a death trajectory because they have weaknesses and imbalances in their body, and they've been exposed to countless viruses. We all been exposed to all the different viruses. So when I posted this morning, okay, all the different viruses associated with all the different autoimmune disorders, and I go into all the cancers too, but I'm not going to. But the cancer is basically a conglomeration of viruses. Autism is based upon a conglomeration of viruses. But why do some people get autism and why others don't? Well, because you have weaknesses in countless areas. I mean, you have weaknesses in areas that are associated with autistic symptoms. Okay, when you have weaknesses in different areas based upon generational, predispositions, and then you have a virus that comes in on a strong body, you would be asymptomatic. It would be benign, but on a weak body, it manifests into a disease called autism, a disease called Parkinson's, Parkinson's, a disease called diabetes, a disease called alcoholism too. Every single named disease is based upon how a virus impacts a very weak body. Because remember, there are people who are exposed to the same viruses. You have two people getting the same vaccine and one has an adverse reaction, the other person doesn't. You know why the one person has adverse reaction? Because they already have the weaknesses in their body. They're going to be exposed to the virus regardless. So those of you who are anti-vax, you don't realize that you take yourself off the grid, away from biotech, away from vaccines, away from modern medicine, you're still going to come down with the same issues because you're still exposed. You still have malfunctions. You still have generational weaknesses that probably you won't even survive off the grid away from modern medicine, because Mother Nature takes back what isn't viable on this earth according to her straight black and white way of dealing with things. All of us really should not be living based upon Mother Nature's rules. But the fact that we are living is because of vaccines and modern medicine. Okay? So you're going to be exposed to viruses no matter what. And so, yeah, you take yourself away from modern medicine, you're supposed to vaccine or viruses no matter what. So if you take yourself away from modern medicine and vaccines, you will not survive. You will not survive. You will not survive Wang Shrum. You will not survive Lindy Davis. You will not survive Joan, Florence, Dawn. None of you would survive at all without modern medicine or vaccines. But the fact that you were exposed to vaccines, the fact that you were exposed to someone who had a vaccine, who didn't have an aggressive virus because they had received the vaccine. And so, yeah, they may have been shedding, but they're shedding now an attenuated version of that virus, not the actual strong version that's somewhere in the population that caused them to create this vaccine to begin with. Okay, so yeah, herd immunity does exist. Viruses are prevalent regardless. They are prevalent, and they are behind the diseases based upon the weak bodies that are out there. So if you have a disease based upon a virus, you have a weak body, and you have to come to terms with that. And then now think about strengthening your body. And so this is why I went and compartmentalized, so that way you guys can see with every single malady that you don't even think about, like balding. You didn't think that balding is like virus related, but it is. You're supposed to have hair. You're supposed to have skin. You're supposed to have nails. Okay? If we were supposed to evolve into like a wolf, we would have fur on our body. But that is not the human race right now. Now, will we evolve into being a wolf? I have no idea. I can't predict the future. But as of right now, we're not supposed to have fur on our body. If you do, there is an overproduction of some kind of hair follicles that have gone out of control. And there are some kids out there and some families out there that have that genetic condition where they grow fur on their face. And then there are these then they are like part of a freak show. And then people pay money to see them, and it becomes an exploitation type of thing. Okay? So anyway, so viruses on a weak body trigger cancer, disease, and chronic illness, autoimmune disorders. Even the smallest benign thing like balding is showing the body is weak. Aging is virus related because you have a weak body, and then the viruses you've been exposed to your whole life, regardless of where they came from, have then exploited the weaknesses. And of course, drinking alcohol and practicing some of these things that people practice in traditions out there do not help your case either. Okay? So, viruses associated with gray hair. When your body is decaying with malabsorption, gray hair is as a result of the body stealing minerals to keep the vital organs going. And why it happens earlier for some, but not others, people have genetic predispositions of the body already coming into this world at a deficit. And the hair is being stripped of its minerals right off the bat to keep the vital organs going. And now that they are mineral depleted, now the minerals are depleted from the hair, but then you have other insurance policies. You have your skin, you have your nails, you have your bones. Okay? Hold on a second. What is going on here? Okay. All right, I'm just trying to see more. Okay, there we go. All right, and see less. Okay, someone made a comment, so I wanted to see what that comment was, but I guess. All right, so anyways, I can't see that. That's okay. All right, so gray hair is linked to an immune system activity and viral infection. Aging is basically viral related based upon a weak body. And then the type of therapies you apply to a weak body will then progressively accelerate the aging process. So if you're not actively, this is for some of you who are in the psychotherapy world, if you're not actually putting J juice as part of your platform, then you're basically compounding the problem to your clients and patients. Just an FYI. All right. So anyways, viruses associated with dry skin. 2 viruses that cause problems for eczema patients are molluscum contagiosum and vaccinia. This last virus may cause severe skin reactions, eczema vaccinatum, in individuals with active but even past histories of atopic dermatitis after immunization against smallpox with vaccinia. But hey, you're going to be exposed to these viruses regardless. You realize that when you have sex with someone, you shake hands with someone, you eat food at a restaurant, people don't always wash their hands. They talk to you and spit at you at the same time. You share your glasses of water or soda with friends and family who have been exposed to people all over the world as well as in their community. You're not getting away from viruses and bacteria. So don't think you can put yourself in a bubble and think, oh yeah, I'm not going to get this. But the reason why people get these certain conditions, obesity or eczema and psoriasis, is because they have weak bodies and weak areas in the area of where you have psoriasis, like your skin. And then you also have a genetic predisposition that can be actually addressed and reversed. But the reason why you have it is because you never corrected it. Your parents never corrected that condition. Okay. But then why is it some kids come out obese and other kids, and why the parents aren't obese? Well, it's because there are viruses that then capitalize on the weaknesses sustained in the new environment. Because every single time you procreate, the child comes into a world of a new environment with new diseases, with well, not say new viruses, but the new conglomeration of viruses on weaknesses. And then this is where the manifestation of these different diseases happen, even if the parents don't exhibit it altogether previously. There's viruses associated with lazy eye, ocular disease associated with Epstein-Barr virus infection. Okay, viruses associated with balding. What viruses cause hair loss? Alopecia areata is considered to be cell-mediated autoimmune disease in which autoreactive cytotoxic T cells recognize melanocyte-associated proteins such as tyrosinase. And then alopecia areata is sometimes triggered by viral infections such as influenza that cause excess production of interferons, IFN. Okay? And then I said all these viruses you've been exposed to, regardless of where it came from, even if you were off grid some away from biotechnology. I do have typos in some of this because I talk really, really fast and I think really, really fast, and my phone and the stuff doesn't always translate. So hold on a second. Even if you're off grid somewhere, give me 1 second. From biotechnology and all their proactive and reactive protocols, the reason why they turn into names of diseases is because the body is weak, and biotech then creates remedies and protocols to manage the symptoms of all of these different diseases or autoimmune disorders. Viruses are only a problem on a weak body. Good morning, John. Now, I don't want anybody jumping in and giving me their 2 cents, okay? So, John, just chill out on the comments. I'm going to get through this. I want to get all this information, okay? Some of you are very excited, which is great, but you got to understand this information. So that way you understand yourself. And now you can realize that, strong bodies and weak bodies are prevalent in our society and why people have certain cancer disease and chronic illness. And then you're going to then chill out, and realize that there are weak people in our society, and you don't want to really, demonize them, but you want to realize that you can strengthen the bodies. And spirituality and religion are not necessarily bad, but it's based upon, is it a strong body or a weak body? Okay. So we really have to understand that it's okay to have spirituality and religion. I'm putting this in there because I know some of you are very, very critical of spirituality and religion, which I can be too, but really it is predicated on a strong body or a weak body. When a weak body is filtering their religion, their spirituality, it comes out in a death projection. When spirituality and religion go through a very strong body, it's a life-giving protocol. It's a life-giving mentality projection. Okay, so that's how you have to differentiate between everything that's out there. Is it being filtered through a strong body or a weak body? Is a virus being filtered through a strong body, or is a virus being filtered through a weak body? Those are the two sides of the spectrum you must come from, so you understand that there's nothing out there that you can hate, that you need to hate or be intolerant of. Be intolerant of people who are in the who promote death, but that's it. Okay, so that's why I wanted to just kind of put that out there, so that way I can guide you guys down the right path, so you're not demonizing anything, because you don't want to be hypocritical promoting J juice when you're demonizing one thing, but yet you're saying I don't demonize, I don't do this, I follow the J juice, and J juice doesn't demonize anything. We just demonize death. But how, you know, so that's it. Okay. Virus associated with endometriosis. Okay. So, I mean, there's different types of viruses associated with endometriosis. Virus associated with Raynaud's disease, cytomegalovirus. Okay, virus associated with mental illness, the HHV6 with patients with bipolar disorder and depression. All right, virus associated with obesity. Okay, in animals and humans, it's adenovirus 36, ADV 36. So if you are obese, you have a virus that it's okay to have, but you have to strengthen your body so that way that virus isn't impacting the weaknesses that's causing more fat cells to more, imbalances in your fatty acids. Because that's what obesity is. But also when you're too skinny and too malnourished, then you have imbalances in your fatty acid, amino acids, you're malnourished. But you can be malnourished on either end of the spectrum, underweight and overweight. There's a specific, I would say, proportion that your body is going to finally trigger once you get all of your biochemistry well balanced. And when I first did the protocol, you can see when I was puffy and, and swollen, that I lost the excess water weight, lost the excess fat cells. And then finally the body and the bones and the skin and everything had to then follow suit. So you saw even just my face morph into what it is today. And that's what that whole progression of 1987 when I was a kid all the way to 2019. So you can see the morphing of how my weaknesses were impacted by the viruses, but the viruses didn't cause the weaknesses, the lack of nutrition. And all of us have been malnourished because all of us come from bodies that are in decay. All of us have. Okay? Nobody has come from a body that has been living indefinitely, because that is not the purview of our society, to live indefinitely. Every family has somebody that was born from a parent that has died or is on the way out the door. Okay? Or decaying and dying as we speak. Nobody is coming from a body that has been 100% perfect, living indefinitely. So you already have weaknesses. All right. The Epstein-Barr virus associated with fibromyalgia. So virus associated with fibromyalgia is the Epstein-Barr virus. Virus associated with lupus is the Epstein-Barr virus. The virus associated with multiple sclerosis is the Epstein-Barr virus. Okay. The virus associated with Parkinson's disease is basically having to do with the microbiota in the gut. Okay, so it's about really a lot of like imbalances in the gut. Virus associated with diabetes is the enteroviruses, Coxsackie virus, rotavirus, mumps virus, cytomegalovirus, and I mean, it's a combination of viruses in diabetics. Okay, virus associated with rheumatoid arthritis is the HIV, parvovirus, hepatitis, B and C alpha virus, like chikungunya, chikungunya, whatever. And then, yeah, okay. A virus associated with Graves' disease. It's a human foamy virus that have been detected in thyroid tissue in patients with Graves' disease. Influenza virus, hepatitis C virus, Enterobacteria, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Yersinia, and Helicobacter can have an influence on these types of thyroid issues. Okay? Virus associated with celiac disease. We're trying to blame gluten. Okay, summary. Infection with retrovirus, a common but otherwise harmless virus, can trigger the immune system response to a gluten that leads to celiac disease. So you have immune disorders that are being impacted by a harmless virus because you have weaknesses to where you can't eat gluten. Every single allergy in your body and every single issue in your body has to do with a weakness that was never corrected from prior generations. Ever. And then every generation that has babies compounds those issues. And then at some point, there's going to be sterility in a family. These viruses are going to take out your genetic line. Some of you will have a few generations afterwards, but you're seeing kids are weaker and weaker. Because look, when you think about it, this vaccine schedule is reflective of the type of viruses that are in the environment created by bodies that are very weak. So you see in 1962, the only viruses they really were worried about was the polio virus, okay? And the smallpox and the diphtheria, DTP. And then 1983, in my generation, there was there was a lot more viruses I had to worry about. So you can see the MMR, DTP, OPV, and all this, you know, how many, there's like 1, 2, 3 in 1962. Then in 1983, when you have all these viruses run through bodies that are decaying and then they're communicable, because every time you get sick, you just mutated a virus and then you cough and then somebody else catches it and mutates it and runs through their body. And this is where pandemics and epidemics come from. So in 83, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So from 3 vaccines to 11 vaccines, because we have now people who are weaker. And then we have in 2019, holy crap, we got a major weak population who now has all these different diseases that need to have some kind of layer of protection because they got a weak body. The reason why we have vaccines is because we have weak ass people in the population. So the pro-vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers are actually compounding the problem. They're both the reason why we have biotech to begin with. They are both the reason why we have human experimentation and animal experimentation, because they have weak bodies and they keep procreating on weak bodies. They're not strengthening their kids, not strengthening themselves. They're allowing their mom to die and grandma to die. Okay, and then they have very misaligned politics. They demonize people, places, and things instead of realizing that there are strong bodies and weak bodies. Strong bodies will not demonize anything. Weak bodies will find an enemy no matter what, and they will demonize that enemy, and they will pound it in people's heads that, you know, meat is the enemy, religion is the enemy, something is the enemy. No, the only enemy is a person who is weak. Okay, you don't want to exemplify weaknesses by demonizing. So this is why the J juice is around, so we understand why things exist, and we need to run viruses through strong bodies, because then you're asymptomatic, you're not going to be spreading disease, and the disease stops with you. The buck stops here. So I can be exposed to all these different viruses, but guess what? No one's ever going to catch a disease from me because my body is so strong. It releases the excess programming when I poop, when I pee. That's why they call us the poop cult, because I know that when people are full of shit, it comes out in everything they say and do and their choices. And you can see people who are full of shit, that are full of worms, are composting their crap because they can't do it themselves. And then they go and demonize a person, place, or thing and bully them and be an activist and don't understand there's a place for everyone and everything in our society. Okay, but I'm pro-life. not in the political sense of like I'm anti-abortion. I'm pro-life in every single aspect. And that means that grandma shouldn't die and neither should a baby. If you think grandma should die but not babies, that's misalignment. That is a misalignment of your body, mind, and spirit. And then you use religion and spirituality to justify your misalignment. That's where then you can demonize religion and spirituality, but not really, because then someone can be religious and spiritual and be pro-life and can be consistent. Because Jesus and Allah and God and life and ascension can all be, you know, on this earth and be symbolic of living body, mind, and spirit totally aligned. Okay? But then through a weak body, Jesus, Allah, God, and all these things can be then run through a weak body, then allows death to be part of the program. But death is just a consequence of violating the laws of life. That's all death is. Death is not something should be revered, promoted, or at all being, you know, celebrated. Death is not a celebration. And so that's where that's where the conflict comes from in my world. When someone claims to be one thing, but yet they believe in death, they're like, oh yeah, I'm all about being a vegan, vegetarian, or a meat eater, and I'm doing it so I can save the planet, save the earth, okay, and save children and save animals. And I'm like, what the hell? Do you realize that how many kids you're having is now causing the reason why we have industries that are enslaving animals and children? Your cancer, disease, and chronic illness and your modern lifestyle is enslaving animals and children and other humans. Oh, but no, being vegan and vegetarian is going to save Earth and save the community and save the environment. And then I introduced this person who is like a vegan vegetarian who is like all into the movie Game Changers, and I introduced him to the whole indefinite life, and he could not even fathom the possibility. It just went right over his head. And then what happens, they see the blinders go on, and then the mantra comes out. And I watch it all the time with the conspiracy people, with the vegan vegetarians, with all the political people. The blinders go on, and then they start repeating the same mantra. Oh no, it's the Illuminati. They're brainwashing you. Oh no, I want to save the earth, save the environment, save children, save babies, save the animals. Oh, the blinders go on, and all of a sudden their party line is now the thing that they repeat on a continuous loop. And it's just like, oh my God, I just hit the wall with this guy or a girl. Watching Jason Christoff do the same thing. Okay, he's another influencer that does the weightlifting and believes that we are run by the Rockefellers and we're being killed by the Rothschilds, and the Illuminati is out to get us. And oh my God, and you can just see the wall go up, and then it's a repeat of the same thing. Oh no, they're brainwashing, they're doing this, they're doing that, and you're like, wow. And it's a trip to watch. It really is. Okay. And so when they can't fathom a new thought process, it's then right back to the party line. Or some of them be like, oh, that's great. It works for you. It seems to be working for you. That's great. And it's like, okay. Or, oh, I don't believe that. Okay. Well, then why are you an activist for women's rights? Because women are being enslaved, they're being killed by the males, So you believe in life, but yet only up to a certain point, right? And the thing with the equality, oh my gosh, I think it's kind of funny that the men have turned the tables on the women when it comes to the sports, because I don't think that we really should be competing strength-wise when it comes to sports or weightlifting or any of those types of competitions where it gets you like a scholarship into college. I really don't believe that should happen. The reason why is because anybody can manipulate their body and torture their body to then be able to do great feats like gymnastics, which I think fine. Somebody wants to torture their body for a certain amount of time and they have a child they want to mold into a super sports star, okay. But you realize it does damage to the kid's body. It stunts their growth in a lot of ways. And then they're molding and manipulating the body to do a specific thing, of which then takes away from the balance of the body, mind, and spirit. When it's all about the body, The mind, okay, a little bit. The spirit, definitely no, that the spirit's already cattywampus and imbalanced, because the biochemistry is all cattywampus and imbalanced. And so then now we have where, yeah, we have men that now want to be women. Okay, fine. I don't care. I think more power to anyone that wants to be something. I really don't care. Because if you want equality and you want to allow everybody to kind of identify whatever they want, then fine. As long as within, you know, the lawful means, you're not victimizing anybody. But if you want equality in the workplace and you want to be paid as the same person, you want to be paid as the same males up there for the same job, then allow men to go and compete in your area, in the women's area. I don't care. If this guy says he's a woman, fine. Go compete. And then it's up to the woman to then, you know, whoever, not woman, I say just up to the person to now rise up and compete. Okay, so, you know, women, you have your work cut out for you. You want to be like a man, or a man want to be like a woman, fine. You guys have to rise up to the level of your ability and to your competition. What's wrong with that? So then, you know, so you can't be equal in one way, but not be equal another way. I mean, it's across the board. Be consistent. So I think it's kind of funny, actually. And I'm seeing people just losing their minds over it. Oh my God, well, you wanted equality. Men want to go and compete in a woman's, you know, whatever, fine, go for it. And we have transgenderism, that's great. I don't care. You know, I had my views a long time ago because I was trying to figure out what was normal and what was for the human body. And then I broke it down to a societal construct and then a biological construct. Then there's an elemental construct. Okay, societal constructs are saying that, oh, people should die, or there's a man, there's a woman. Well, I don't believe people should die. And if someone doesn't believe that there should be a man and woman binary type of, you know, thing, that's fine. No, people should live. Everybody's equal. Everybody's human. You have certain sex organs can do certain things, and you want to compete equally, then you all have to rise to the level of each other's ability or surpass it if you have that drive. And yeah, I guess, you know, there's certain hormones that you can do that are legal for you to compete, I guess. Now, I guess there's certain drugs you can't do. You can't do steroids in the Olympics or others. But hey, you know, whatever. So there's societal constructs, there's elemental constructs, there's biological constructs. We're all equal. We're all human. The human race. Now, here's the thing. You do the J juice, the body is going to do what it needs to do to make sure that you're still alive. So if you're living indefinitely and your body is what it is and you feel the way you feel, I mean, what I've said, that at some point when you are 100% healed and sealed, you're not going to want to, you know, you're not going to want to do everybody and their mother. You're going to chill out on your libido. Okay. I still, you know, love my husband. I'm still attracted to him. I still think he's hot. I'm not, you know, I don't have a difference in my desires if they're just not as prevalent. Okay. But that's it. So, you know, when you do the J juice and you want to live indefinitely, Mother Nature will dictate what is, you know, what is supposed to be for that human based upon what the human expects. If the human expects to die, then who cares? Do whatever the hell you want. If you want to live, then you'll see how Mother Nature then deems what is appropriate, whatever that is. It's not for me to decide. Okay. So, you know, I've stopped putting parameters as I've moved through the process of J juice. I've stopped putting parameters as far as the societal constructs. Those are out the window. And this is the new world, you guys. It's all about the biological constructs and the elemental constructs. And this is like so perfect because this is where our society is going. What we're doing with the J juice aligns with the Georgia Guidestones. It aligns with what mainstream media is putting out there because they're already seeing the changes in our society. They're already seeing people being victimized because of the fact that they don't subscribe to any single one binary gender thing. Okay. I mean, and we don't want people to be victimized, bullied, or die in our society. We want to give everybody a chance because we're allowing people to procreate. We know people have deficiencies and they have issues, okay, so there's still a place for them. They can have a relatively, normal life, whatever that is, and they are still revered as a human, viable human that can contribute in some way. It's not up to us to say that you're bad or wrong or this or that. Okay, you are who you are. But then I'm taking a step further and say, hey, I want to live indefinitely. I don't want to have an expiration date. And so that takes us then to the next level. Okay, and so yeah, you can do whatever you want, in your life, within reason, within society's constructs of the rules and the laws. And then you also can choose a life trajectory or a death trajectory. You have the choice. The government is giving you a choice. They're not withholding nutrition from you. They're not withholding salt from you. They're not withholding water from you. They're saying, hey, have at it. Do what you got to do, but live within the confines of the law. And if you step outside the confines of the law, then there's repercussions. It's the same thing with the human body. If you want to live indefinitely, there's specific rules and laws that you must abide by. But if you don't care that you're going to die, then yeah, you can violate your body all day long, as long as within the confines of the law of your society. Okay? Remember, laws and rules create life and order. Anarchy and anti-government, anti-law creates death and chaos. Entropy. Okay? So everything is connected. But we have to understand that everything is run through either strong body or weak body. Now we are seeing how all these different contexts are being run through what kind of bodies. And you're seeing how weak bodies are interpreting sex, how weak bodies are interpreting the government, interpreting the law, interpreting everything. And some of it's pretty messed up. And then you see now people who are strong interpreting the same things, and it's not very messed up. It's actually logical. Then you see some people who are, who are bouncing back and forth between illogical and logical, and they just don't know which side of the spectrum they stay on. And so it becomes very confusing. They're like, oh yeah, I'm pro-life, I want to save people, but I also want to just, take her down and damage her and bully her until she, breaks and whatever. And that's like, if you're so wanting to save people, why would you destroy a person in the process? And that's what some of these critics of mine are about, is about misalignment of the body, mind, and spirit. They're all about saving people from the jilly juice, but they want to destroy me. It's like, what? But they can't destroy me. I can only destroy myself. Hey, Jacob. So anyways, so you guys, just understand that the strong body versus weak body is really what's predicated on whether the life trajectory or a death trajectory. Okay? And so everybody has a choice in the matter. You can't ram life down somebody's throat. Someone will have a perception of what life is, but they know they have an expiration date because they don't want to do any kind of changes. Let them be. It's fine. Okay? You got to exemplify balance, which is no demonization, really understanding that everything that's in our society is either run through a strong body or a weak body. And right now, most of our society, if not all, except for a few, are running everything through a weak body. And so then the message comes out in a very messed up form. And so this is why religion and spirituality and all these different types of isms come out the way they come out, and why people don't like them, because it's being promoted by people with very weak bodies. I mean, look at the Pope. He's elderly. I mean, he tries to do the best he can, but all of his belief systems are run through a body that's decaying. The same thing with Trump. I'm not knocking anybody, but you have to understand where the message is coming from and why there's such a split in our society. Because when you are in a death trajectory, but you still want to live, you're going to only appease half of the population or a segment of the population. I wouldn't know how to break down who supports Trump and who doesn't. But will there be an actual leader that will cater to every single body? Well, that depends on how they look at life. Would they stop the wars? They promote, mass feedings of people. Poverty is taken away. They take all the money out of the church. They take all the money out of, I mean, there's a way to where you can make everybody happy because you appeal to what they desire most, which is to live and to feel that they have a future for their family. We haven't gotten there yet. So when you have such a split in our society of love and hate for any one person, okay, it means that the leader still has a split in their personality. They're still teetering on the life and death. They're living, but then they're dying at the same time. Okay, so, I'm hoping for the future that we do have leaders that will speak to everybody's listening, not just a percentage of the population. Because everybody deserves to live. Everybody deserves to have food. Everybody needs to work for it too. It can't just be a handout. But the reason why people don't work for because they're sick. You don't think that people want to work for it? Yeah, they do, but they're sick. They have issues. Okay? So it's like, we have to then address the cancer, disease, and chronic illness and the illnesses and the weaknesses in the population before we can create, I would say, a utopian society where we don't have that split all the time. So, that's my hope for the future. But it may have to be where the population gets taken down from 7 billion to 500 million. If the Georgia Guidestones were predicated upon the biotech experiments on the mice, where they can kind of see the future of humanity through their experiments on the mice population and the different generations of how many viruses get exposed. I mean, I don't know if they did that, but that would make sense to me. If I was somebody in biotech and I want to see the future of humanity, and mice were no different than humans except for the lifespan, and if we expose these mice to all these different viruses and create the environment, just like, expose the mice to one generation, have 3 viruses or 3 vaccines or 3 viruses in the environment, and then expose the mice then the next generation to then like 9 or however many there are, and then expose the next generation, you're going to see then, yeah, at some point generations are going to be eradicated. So yeah, there's going to be from 7 billion to 500 million. That would make sense, because weak bodies don't get stronger unless they apply the right chemistry. Weak bodies that procreate on weak bodies will have weaker bodies. Okay? So, and then of course the adaptation process. So not only procreation weakens the body, but every single time you change environments, you have to reinforce your minerals, because the amount of energy it takes to then adjust to a new environment. Just like it takes a lot of energy to adjust from fall to winter, from summer to fall, it's a lot of minerals. Okay? And so when you do get a flu virus, it's because you've already been exposed to the virus, but the body is now at a lowered immunity and it's weak. And so that virus is exploiting the weaknesses during your adaptation process. So this is why people do all this boosting of immunity, but they apply the wrong chemistry. They do elderberry syrup or they do colloidal silver, and then it further weakens the body. Because it's very acidic, the elderberry syrup and the kombuchas and the apple cider vinegars. And then the colloidal silver is a heavy metal, and they already have heavy metal toxicity in that person's body, so it causes more imbalances. Okay, because you have 4 things that make up a human: fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. Prohormones are precursors. They're micro and macronutrition to then trigger the hormones correctly based upon the environment of the body and its surroundings and the lifestyle. And so you can have the wrong nutrition in your body because you already have imbalances and everything. And then you've been exposed to viruses anyways. And this is where the cesspool of crap happens. Okay, so just remember, if anything, you take away anything from this transmission, it really is about weak bodies and strong bodies. Viruses will destroy a weak body, but viruses will strengthen a strong body. And so if you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, you have a weak body, and it's a precursor to the death trajectory. So Just something to think about. And people don't have to die. But the reason why they do is they've been trained for so long to accept that belief system run through bodies that are decaying. And that's why you see people just flip out when I say indefinite life. They're like, what? I want to live, but I don't want to die tomorrow. Okay. If you're going to roll the dice every single day, then what's the point of changing your diet or taking an activist stance against chemtrails? Okay. So yeah, so we have to align the body, mind, and spirit truly, not half-assed, not picking and choosing what you want to be aligned with, body, mind, and spirit, but every single thing with life, body, mind, and spirit. All right, have a good day, guys. Bye.